India is prone to a variety of disasters. River flooding is the most frequent and most devastating disaster in India. 75% of the rainfall in India occurs in a period of only 3 to 4 months, which accounts for the frequent flooding in this region, as well as susceptibility to landslides. This weather pattern also accounts for the severe droughts in India outside of the monsoon season. These droughts make India susceptible to food shortages or famines. India is also prone to cyclones, earthquakes, tsunamis, epidemics, and technological hazards. India typically has a bottom-up implementation pattern. States are broken into districts led by the district collector, who is responsible for disaster management at the district level. The state government is also responsible for disaster management within its territory. However, if a disaster spans several states or is outside the scope of the state government's resources, the state may request assistance from the central government. There have been several disasters which have had profound impacts on India's disaster management policies. India's first attempts at emergency management began in response to a famine in the 1800s. The government of India created the Ministry of Agriculture to address this issue in the future. India's first experience with a large-scale technological hazard was the Bhopal tragedy in 1984, when an acutely toxic vapor was released into the air by a local pesticide plant. In response to this disaster, the government of India enacted several laws to better protect its citizens and to hold factories responsible for negligence. India learned another valuable lesson on the importance of mitigation and preparedness in 1999 when 2 cyclones struck Orissa, India, only days apart. These events led to the creation of the Orissa State Disaster Mitigation Authority. India's armed forces, non-governmental organizations, and local community all play a vital role in India's disaster management. India has planned for several disasters with a new focus on mitigation. India has taken several steps to mitigate flood damage, including the construction of embankments. Several programs have been created to address earthquake mitigation, and India has also begun a cyclone mitigation project in assistance with the World Bank. In addition, India has created a nationwide disaster awareness generation campaign consisting of print and electronic media. Disaster awareness is now being taught in some secondary schools as well. One of the obstacles to India's disaster management is the absence of an integrated policy at the national level. This hinders their ability to establish appropriate legislation and associated regulations in this regard. Another obstacle to India's disaster management is their history of blaming devastation caused by disasters on nature, not on a lack of preparedness and mitigation. In addition, there are very low literacy rates and widespread poverty in India, which makes it difficult to create community-based organizations to aid disaster management at the local level. Lack of insurance is also a concern, as only the wealthy are able to afford coverage, which leaves many without this option. Furthermore, India primarily concentrates on natural hazards, which leaves them extremely vulnerable to technological hazards. As exampled in this presentation, India's disaster management has historically focused on response and recovery after disasters, and only recently began to examine ways to mitigate and prepare prior to disasters. In the future, it is likely the government of India will recognize and begin to address some of the potential obstacles to having an effective disaster management plan in their country, whether by choice or by learning from future disasters.